What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the Daily Dose with Dylan Davis. I'm your host, Dylan. You can follow me on Twitter at DylanJD98. And today I'm joined by my man, Mark. You can follow him on Twitter at MarkHenryJr_. He's the host of the Tough Cover podcast here on the Painted Lines, where we are streaming to you guys live through the Painted Lines YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch accounts right now. So if you're new to the channel, please give this video a like and please hit that subscribe button or follow button. On today's show, me and Mark will be diving into the 2-0 night that took place in Philadelphia last night after a dreadful weekend. It felt good to get some wins back in our system as the Sixers roll against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Phillies get a scary 2-1 win. I don't know how Nolan Arenado's last at bat didn't go over the center field wall, but nonetheless, it was a 2-1 win for the Fighting. So we'll talk about those two things. And then we have a lot of draft and Eagles talk to get into as well. So very packed show. You guys always make it more fun by commenting along and asking us questions and getting involved. So please do that as well throughout the course of the show. Mark, how have you been though?
Yeah, man. 2-0 night keeps my spirits up. But yeah, I'm fully focused on the draft. I find it even hard to be like focusing on these Phillies and Sixers games. I'm in my Google Docs and I'm in my my research lab for the NFL draft. That's really where my focus is. But I did, have both TVs going for the Philly sports double win last night.
How's my Wi-Fi, by the way? Is my Wi-Fi okay?
You only you pooped out for a second. Just your video.
Yeah, I got the bar up here that's saying my Wi-Fi is going on and off. So hopefully it's okay for you guys at home. But let's start with the Sixers because there's not much we can really talk about last night, as we know who their competition was. But there's one thing that I want to get off my chest for the fan base out there, for our viewers, for Sixers Twitter, for everyone, because our good friend and viewer Dale, who comments along and has some panic attacks along the way when it comes to this Sixers team, I had to talk him off the ledge yesterday. And here's my main takeaway from last night's game. And it's the only one I think you can have. I get it. It was the Thunder. But any game going forward or any game recently that you watched or you are going to watch that does not have Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris involved in the game, do not pay it any mind. Mark, we have said this constantly over the last couple of weeks. They only win a championship if everyone's healthy and if everyone's on the floor together, meaning the big three. And obviously you can't have like Shake and Seth or Shake and Danny both hurt as well, but you get my point there with the big three, right? So when you watch them finally get back to full health, and they didn't even have Danny Green last night, but still, and you see them just roll a bad team like they should, it just proves it even more that, guys, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are 28-6 together this year. They have made. Do they still have the best net rating in the league, Mark?
I'm not sure. I haven't checked up on it.
If not, they're tops in the league in net rating together.
I know we passed the Jazz for number one defensive net rating. Yes.
So they have great coaching. They have the maybe MVP of the league if he can stay on the floor more. They have the best defense in the league. They have two of the best defensive players in the league. They have spacing. They have everything you need, and you see it when it's all together and it clicks, and that's just my main takeaway. Any game you watch from here on out that doesn't contain one of the big three, don't pay it any mind. That is not the team that is going to be competing for a championship. So when the Sixers lose to the Phoenix Suns by 3 without Ben Simmons and whoever else, when they lose to the Golden State Warriors or without 3 starters or the Bucks without 3 starters, and even though they lost by 35, 40, that's not the team that's going to be out there contending for a title.
Yeah.
So calm down.
Yeah, I've had the same take for the last couple of weeks. It's like, I'm pretty much just reacting to the result at this point because on a night-to-night basis, I'm not going to freak out or either way on how good or bad the team's performance is or how good or bad specific players' performances are. Obviously, there's little takeaways you can have game to game. I think Maxey's looked really good. even in garbage time as of late. Maybe that's something that they could throw out later on if we get into a pinch in the playoffs or if there are injuries. It's nice to have that in your back pocket. But those are really little takeaways. My big takeaway at this point, and I've said it since I started coming on this show, even as a guest a long, long time ago, the number one seed is winning the Eastern Conference. And I've said that for months. I truly believe it. And I'm going to be the super optimistic Sixers guy going into the playoffs, thinking we're going to the finals if we have the one seed. You might not want to follow me if you're a Sixers fan who's super optimistic, even about getting the 2 or the 3 seed. You might not want to follow me because I legitimately, and I know this does not fall in line from an analytical or a betting perspective where the odds are going to be or anything like that. I think either if you go from the first seed to the second seed, I think the percentage you win the East goes from about like 45 to 50% to about like 15%, 10 to 15%. Like, I think that is such a massive difference for any of these 3 teams to get that one seed. So any win is a positive. Any Brooklyn loss is a positive. Any Brooklyn win is a negative. Any loss for us is a negative. That's pretty much where my mindset is at with the Sixers going forward, other than little takeaways.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think we discussed that last time you and Gint were both on the show with me, just kind of talking about how it's not that they lost the game. It's just the fact that the result brings you out of the one seed or brings you tied with Brooklyn for the one seed at the time. And at this point, this stage of the season, it's like every loss is going to be magnified that much more. My whole point, my whole spiel earlier was just that I have seen Sixers fans on social media like bugging about the fact that they lost both to Milwaukee or that they're not good enough now. And like, come on. So any game that the big 3 are not together, just don't even pay any mind. If they win, it's a good win. If they lose, all right, they didn't have that. Now, that's not to say if they have Ben and Joel and they lose to the Timberwolves, that's not an awful loss, but you get my point there. I hope.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I completely agree with you, man. And I guess that's just the one thing we could talk about on this Sixers today, because like I said, we're not going to go through and break down last night's game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are just, I don't even know what to say.
Jerome. Ty Jerome.
Yeah, what do you have last night? 22 last night.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the Nets play tonight for me. That's become like a Sixers game. Like, I'm watching each Nets game like it's a Sixers game, rooting for the other team. Like, the Raptors play the Nets tonight. I almost want to bet on them +5 just to be rooting for the Raptors to win that game. I don't have a lot of faith. Obviously, the Nets are 5-point favorites on the road. I think KD's playing, I believe. I don't think he's on the injury report. It looks like the Nets are going to have a pretty full lineup besides Harden. So I expect the Nets to win that game. But if the Raptors can somehow pull off a win, I mean, they are fighting for the 10th spot. That'd be huge. That'd be just as huge for the Sixers as any win that the Sixers will record. It's funny when you're playing this, 2-man or 2-horse race, and hopefully Milwaukee. That loss to Atlanta the other night really hurt them in the standings. So hopefully that keeps them out.
So I said this, and I want to get your thoughts on this. On yesterday's show, I came out to Scotty and Ginn and said, we were talking about seeding 1 through 3, and someone made a comment about, or the tweet someone put out yesterday, like, oh, they went from the 1 seed and going to be in the finals to a first round exit as the 3 seed or whatever. I'm coming out and saying this comfortably. The Sixers are not dropping below the 2 seed. I say that comfortably. They're not dropping below the 2 seed. I want to get your thoughts on that, and I also want to get your thoughts on their chances to still get the 1 seed, because I think in a lot of people's mind, the last week of that 0-4 stretch, they kind of looked at it as like the Sixers blew their chance, and I don't think that's the case. I just think they, like Carl said this yesterday, they just made their road a lot more difficult. Right. So they didn't blow their chance at the 1 seed. They're only a game out behind Brooklyn right now, and they have the tiebreaker. And the Sixers had the easiest strength of schedule left ahead of the Bucks and the Nets, who play each other twice as well. So it's going to be really interesting. So what are your thoughts on them locked in at the 1 or 2 seed, and what do you think their road is like to get the 1 seed?
Yeah. Again, it sucks to say this, but I feel like it depends less on us and more on how the Nets play. If anyone's if they're all healthy. It sounds like I'm boring here, but I really think it's going to depend on how the Nets play and how much they value getting that 1 seed. And I got to be honest, if that's an organizational decision last week to rest everybody and they don't think the 1 seed's important, and I could see that. I could see, Daryl crunching the numbers and seeing, you don't really need that. To me, I really think you do, and it's not about home court advantage. It's not about getting an easier first round
It's not having
matchup.
to play the Bucks in the second or the Nets in the second round.
Either way. Yeah, exactly. And it's forcing those two to play in the second round. So that's the whole thing to me. And to touch on the 3 seed thing, before I say whether or not they can get the 1 seed, it doesn't really matter to me if they're the 2 or the 3. The 2 or the 3 seed's kind of the same thing. We don't know who the 6 seed is. We don't know who the 7 seed is. We have this janky-ass tournament to decide the 7 and 8 seed. But the 6 seed could actually be a way worse. It could be the Hornets, and the 7 seed could be the Heat, for all we know.
That's very true.
I don't really care about the 2 or the 3 seed. All I care about is the 1 seed, and I absolutely think we can do it. We just might have to go. I forget how many games there are left. 15, 16?
I think it's less than that, man.
14?
I think it's like 14.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I think they're gonna have to go. If it's like 14, they're gonna have to go like 10-4, like 11-3. Like it's going to have to be a tear, I think, to overcome Toronto or to overcome Brooklyn. Again, hopefully Toronto gets a win tonight, and I think that would change a lot because that's not an expected loss you're seeing on Brooklyn's kind of record with 2 Bucks games still coming up. But I'm just worried now that Brooklyn keeps winning even without their guys. That Suns win the other night. It's like how do the Suns come in and beat us by 3 and then go out and bench a couple guys and lose to the Nets? It's just terrible luck.
All right, Mark, let's do something that I didn't plan on doing, but now you have my attention and I brought it to myself wanting this 1 seed. So let's look at the remaining schedule. Let's just run through it. Off the top of our domes, can the Sixers get the 1 seed?
I'll pull it up too.
Okay. We have versus the Hawks, both at home. I'm going 2-0. No Trae Young. There's a day off in between. It's not a back-to-back. I think they take both there.
Yeah, they should.
At Spurs, I'm saying win.
So they're at Spurs, at Bulls in back 2 straight days. I'll say they lose one of them. I don't know which one.
I'll agree with you there. I think they might lose to the Bulls if they're healthy on that back-to-back. So we're going 3-1. At Rockets, that's a win.
Yeah.
Home versus the Pelicans. They got their asses handed to them in New Orleans. I think they win at home.
I think that could be a loss. So I'll go loss just for the sake of argument's sake.
So I'm going 5-1. You're going 4-2.
Yeah.
Pistons
win
6-1, and you're 6 or
5-2.
Yeah. At Pacers win.
Agreed. It's also 3 days of rest in between there.
So I have 7-2 or 7-1. At Heat, I'm saying that's a loss.
Yeah, I'll agree. So I'm 6-3.
Magic with a day off, both at home. I'm saying they win both.
Yeah, I agree. So there's 11 games left. That's it.
Wow.
Damn.
And I have 2 losses.
I have 3. So I have 8-3.
9-2. Is that good enough? Now, do we want to do this just for the conversation sake of looking at the Nets schedule and try to be as unbiased as possible, even though we know what the Sixers magic number would be? But let's just look at this and try to be fair with it. At Raptors, I think they win tonight.
Yeah, probably.
At Pacers, I think they win that game.
Yeah, again, they have Pacers, Blazers back-to-back. I think they probably split that.
Right, and I think they lose to the Blazers. So we're going 2-1. At Bucks, I'm going to say they split those.
Yeah, I'll agree.
So 4-2. Or
3-2.
Yes, sorry. 3-2. At Mavericks, I say they win that.
Yeah.
Agreed. At Nuggets.
I'll say they win.
Well, I think
I'll say they lose. It's an altitude. Yeah, that's it looks like that'll be the game, probably.
I think they win out. Bulls, Spurs, Bulls, Cavs after that. So that Nuggets game to me would be really important.
Yeah, the more I'm looking at this, I'm feeling less confident. I don't think there's that big of a difference in the schedules.
The back-to-back followed by the Bucks, at Mavericks, at Nuggets is going to be huge. Also, at Bulls right after that, if Vucevic is healthy, if Levine's playing, there's about a 5 to 6 game stretch there where you need them to drop like 2 games.
Tonight is huge too. They can lose tonight.
That wasn't planned. That just happened live here on the Daily Dose, but that is our hope. So it is going to be really, really interesting, guys, to see how this plays out. But yeah, the Sixers control their own destiny and need a little bit of help. And let's just hope that they can get it. Should we switch gears now, Mark, to the Phillies?
Yeah, man.
So yeah, I mean, I want to talk more Sixers, and I know that's what you guys, a large portion of you guys tune in to get Sixers talk and content. The issue is, we're at this point, it's a waiting game for the playoffs, and we can analyze a Nets loss and a Sixers win all we want, but that it's coming down to where we fall in the playoffs. And I'm not going to start breaking down playoff series 3.5 weeks out. So we'll get more creative with it as time goes on over the next couple of weeks. But getting to the Phillies, they are now 11-11 on the season as they beat the St. Louis Cardinals 2-1 to take the first of 4 games in St. Louis. Zach Wheeler goes 8 innings, 1 hit, no earned. Rhys Hoskins hits 2 solo shots to carry the Phillies to a road victory. We did, in fact, see some lineup changes last night, Mark, and those lineup changes are being held the same tonight by Joe Girardi, where Brad Miller is getting the start, batting leadoff. Odubel Herrera was called up. I want to get your thoughts on that. He's starting in center field. He's batting 7th. Nick Maton continues to play for the injured Gene Segura. He's batting 8th. Outside of that, it's Reese, Bryce, JT, Bohm, Didi. So the middle of the order is the same. Everything else is switched up. What are your thoughts first on just the lineup changes as a whole? Brad Miller leading off, Nick Maton's play, Odubel being called up.
Yeah, so I'm of the mindset with just starting off with leadoff. I'm of the mindset that I want my top 4 batters to be my best 4 batters, kind of. So I would almost rather see, Reese or Bohm or Didi lead off, even if they're not a conventional leadoff hitter at all. And even I don't think Brad Miller's very conventional either, but I would rather see that kind of tinker. I guess it worked yesterday. I mean, we're saying it worked, but we won 2-1, so it's not like the offense went crazy or anything. But JT had 3 hits. Reese had obviously 2 homers. Brad Miller was the only other guy on the team that had a hit. Only 3 guys on the team yesterday had a hit. So it's really hard to situationally hit like that. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything about Bryce Harper. He's been red hot. He's allowed to have an 0-for-4 game every once in a while. He's been red hot. So it's nice to see Reese get red hot yesterday and pick up the slack. He's just – hopefully this kicks off one of those Reese Hoskins. I mean, he's leading the MLB in homers right now, right? So hopefully this kicks off like an insane Reese month like we saw way back in his first year up here. But I think Reese looked amazing last night. And then real quick, before I get to all the other things, you didn't mention this, but I think that start from Zach Wheeler was like the filthiest. Nola might have had better starts. Yeah. Zach Wheeler looked filthy last night.
Yes,
how are you supposed to hit that dude last night?
And not to mention when he has the IQ and just the wherewithal to have a pop fly with a runner on first and let it drop in front of him and get the double play. That was insane. Dives, what's going on? We will be getting to the Birds and draft talk in a few minutes for the second half of the show. But I agree with you, man. That's a great point. And as much as the Phillies don't win last night's game without the bat of Rhys Hoskins, they don't win last night's game without the arm of Mr. Zach Wheeler. That is for sure. I'm trying to think where we can go with this. Hector Neris comes in the 9th. Very shaky. Gives up a run. Runner on second, I believe, with 2 outs with Arenado up.
First and second, right? Or was it just second? No. You're right. It was second. I wanted to walk Arenado. That's why I have that in my head. I was like, why are they walking him?
And Arenado sends a shot right over Neris' head to straight away center, and it somehow stays in the park, dude. And Odubel makes the catch, and that's all she wrote for that one. So what are your thoughts on Hector Neris? Are you comfortable with Joe Girardi keeping him in that closer spot? Like, just think big picture in a playoff series. Are you comfortable? 1-run game, tie game, need to force extras. You comfortable handing the ball to Hector Neris?
No, but it's also like so far down the list of like concerns on the Phillies. That's the problem. It's like, no, I absolutely don't trust Hector Neris. I've never once been confident when he comes in the game. Like, I don't feel good even if it's like a 3-run lead. And that's not me talking crap about him. He looks so good sometimes. Sometimes he comes out and it's 1, 2, 3. He looks sharp. The splitter's going, but I think he looks great sometimes. And then sometimes it looks like he hasn't pitched in months and he's just figuring it out while he goes along. But all I'm saying is I'm happy that ball didn't go out of the yard last night, strictly because Joe Girardi I would have tweeted about Joe Girardi like 100 times. Like, if the fact that they didn't walk Arenado with an open base on first base with 2 outs was like insane to me. I know that Yadier is like batting like 360 right up after him, but he's no one effing Arenado. He's a pretty good hitter. I wouldn't have wanted to pitch to him in that spot. And he came, 10 feet, 5 feet short?
Not even 10 feet.
Yeah. Whew. That was risky. When that ball went in the air, I thought it was going to be an ugly night.
I thought it was gone. The way he hit it, and I was just like, oh, that ball's out of here. And he was pissed off. He thought it was out of here. Did you see him slam his helmet afterwards when he was rounding first base? He definitely thought he had enough on that ball, but he didn't. And the Phils get the win tonight. Once again, not a lot to take away from this one. Like you said, there's 2 guys to look at. Rhys Hoskins continues to swing the bat extremely well. He is your MLB home run leader at the moment, which is a great sign for this Phillies team, especially when you're in the offseason coming into the 2021 year. And what are we continuously saying? Rhys Hoskins is an X factor. If Rhys Hoskins can be the Rhys Hoskins of, 2018 or 2017, whatever that summer was, if he can be that Rhys Hoskins, then this lineup can propel to another level. And he's been everything you could ask so far. And then Zach Wheeler, like I said, if Zach Wheeler, not that he's going to give you a lot of, or you should ever expect 8 innings, 1 hit, no earned. Every time he trots out onto the mound, he was spectacular last night. And then tonight, for game 2, you have Zach Eflin, who has looked spectacular throughout the course of this year so far as well. What was his ERA you said earlier, Mark? 2.74?
2.77, yeah.
2.77 ERA for Zach Eflin, and they are going against Carlos Martinez for the Cards, who I believe doesn't have a win on the year and has like a 6 ERA. So, if you're looking pitching matchups, the Phils advantage.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of value on the Phillies money line tonight from a gambling perspective. Obviously, this is a Philly sports show, so we're just talking about are the Phillies going to win or lose? But I think that because baseball's a money line sport, it makes it easier to talk like that. -110, this basically being an even matchup, we have a gross advantage here in terms of pitching. Zach Eflin's won 3 or 4 games, I believe, that we've started. I'd have to look at that. I know that Carlos Martinez has lost all 4 starts in St. Louis because he's gotten the lost decision in all 4. So that means he's somewhat responsible for all 4 of those losses. With a 6 ERA, obviously ERA can lie sometimes, but when you're on the hook for 4 losses, it doesn't really lie that much. So, and then you look at St. Louis's offense; they're bottom of the barrel in a lot of key statistics just because of how off and on they are. They have nights where they put up 1 run, 0 runs, then the next night they seem to put up 12. I'm a little nervous because they did put up 1 run yesterday, 2 runs the day before, so they do have probably a big game brewing. But I don't think it'll be against Eflin. I think we have the hitting advantage, we have the pitching advantage. We don't have the bullpen advantage, but I think we win tonight and probably lose tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. So let's take our attention to the lineup here. Like I said, it's the same as last night. So Brad Miller's leading off, followed by Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper in the 3-hole. JT's cleaning up. Alec Boehm, Didi Gregorius, followed by Odubel Herrera, Nick Maton, and then Zach Wheeler in the 9-hole. I want to talk about Odubel Herrera with you for a second because you weren't on the show with us yesterday. And, I'm sure there's a lot of people that disagree with me. And I've said I'm talking from a strictly Philly standpoint, whether he deserves a second chance. I'm not saying he does. I'm not saying he doesn't. For wherever you want to stand on that line, I'm not going to walk it with you, okay? However, in my mind, you can be mad at Odubel for what he did, obviously. you have to be mad at the Phillies for him being around right now, because my whole thing, the funniest part about this, Mark, was on yesterday's show, me and Gint were talking Phillies and the lineup and the center field issue, right? And while I'm going on this long rant about Odubel Herrera, not on Twitter, Jim Salisbury tweets that he's been called up and he's starting tonight. And I missed it, and I just went on this long rant. But the point of my rant, and I want to get your feel on this, is the fact that you had this glaringly obvious issue in center field, and it's been a revolving door. Hazley didn't work. Roman Quinn clearly doesn't work, and I never want to see him step foot in the batter's box in a Phillies uniform ever again. Mickey Moniak had a nice 3-run home run against the Giants in a day game, right? He's batting in 09. He's batting 0.95. He's not working right now, right? Scott Kingery, we know, isn't working, right? So my issue was, if Odubel was this big PR nightmare that the Phillies just didn't want to call up no matter how bad their center field play was, why did they put him at the alternate site? Why wasn't he just cut? Wipe your hands clean of him. Don't have to deal with him. He's not lurking there in the shadows while center field turns into a disaster. Okay? That's my issue. If you have a problem with Odubel being on the team right now, your problem is with the Phillies organization. And now he's up. So my whole spiel yesterday kind of went right out the window when they did bring him up. And he didn't record a hit last night. I was sold that he was going yard last night just because that would, of course that would happen. The game they call him up, he bat flips on TV and whatever. But that was my whole thing. And I don't know about you, Mark.
Yeah, I feel the same exact way. So I'm not going to expound on it too much, just outside of saying he's a center fielder who they kept on the 40-man roster, and the center field position was worse than any other position for any other team in baseball. Like, our center fielder position was providing less production than any other position for any other team in baseball. Like, that's not feelings, that's a fact. And I get it. Odubel Herrera is probably a bad guy. They probably, if they had a moral dilemma of having him on their roster, then that's something that they should have sorted out when this happened a year ago, or whenever in the off season. So if you're going to roster him and the position that he plays is going to be historically unproductive, you have to make that move. And I think that the reason that they kept him around was because they had a fear that this would happen, and this would buy them a couple weeks of good grace a little bit in Philadelphia. Not good grace because they knew the PR nightmare, but this buys them a couple weeks of a quick fix solution, hopefully, so that they don't have to go to the trade deadline and do anything, because we know how the Phillies organization feels about that as of late.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. So that's all I wanted to get your feel on that. We're not saying he deserves to be on the team. We're not saying he deserves to be in the MLB, not the NFL. But the fact that they kept him around at the alternate site on the 40-man roster, what the hell did you do that for? If, like you said, you have an historically unproductive center field position, the position that he plays, but we're not going to bring him up because of the PR. You should have cut him then. You should have wiped your hands clean. But now he's up, so we'll see how that works out from a baseball standpoint, and everything like that. But let's do this, Mark.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. But before we get into our Eagles talk and draft week, we do have a message from our sponsors at XL Media for you guys.
Hey, what's up, guys? MLB baseball is in full swing. The NBA and NHL playoffs are right around the corner, and the NFL season is mere moments away. While we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports, we are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup in on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check out the Tough Cover podcast right here on the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You've seen the commercials all over TV and radio, but now is the time. Sign up today with BetRivers using the link below and start cashing in on your love for sports. Using the link below will automatically inform BetRivers that TPL sent you, and you'll get that new user deposit match of up to $250. Don't miss out on this opportunity for some free money, baby.
All right, time to get down to business, because as much as I've been out of football focus and out of Eagles land for a couple weeks now, a couple months, that is, it's time to, focus all my energy and my attention back into the team in green for a week. As draft night quickly approaches in less than or just over 48 hours now. And while I'm super excited for the draft as a whole, that ounce of fear that's sitting in the pit of my stomach and in my heart right now still exists when it comes to what the Eagles are going to do with the number 12 overall pick. So me and Mark are going to be discussing what they should do, what we think they're going to do, the draft as a whole. But here's what I brought up to Scotty and what I proposed to Scotty and Kitten yesterday, and what we'll kind of start our conversation off here, Mark. There's the idea that the Eagles should go defense in this draft because this year's going to be a wash, blah, blah, blah. And then there's the argument of go get a weapon. Stop passing up on these, as of right now, no doubter wide receiver studs, whether it's Jalen Waddle, whether it's Devontae Smith, whatever route you want to go. So defense versus weapon is where we'll start our conversation. And my stance, man. And I think we kind of agreed on this. So if anyone's looking for an argument, you're not going to see it here on Daily Dose right now. But I'm going weapon, and I've been asking for it for a long, long time now. And here's the basis of every statement I make going off of what the Eagles should do at 12, right? Should they trade back? No. I don't care if they can gather a few more second rounders or another third rounder. It all comes down. Howie Roseman doesn't need more second and third rounders, okay? He doesn't. He didn't even need 3 first rounders last year if he's going to be the one making the selection. But I'll keep that topic for another time, okay? So I don't want them to trade back. What are they going to do at 12 if they don't trade up? So the reason I go weapon is because I'm not a Jalen Hurts guy, right? I still have to be proven otherwise, and I want to be proven otherwise because I'm going to root for number 1. I see you have number 2 on your back wall, Mark. Yeah, looks like you need another jersey. I'm going to be rooting for the kid. So, and I'm not a hypocrite, right? So what was I screaming to people last year when Carson Wentz was struggling? Yeah, it was on him. But the play calling, his supporting cast, the wide receiver play, all of that. So how would it be fair to me to turn around and criticize Jalen Hurts this year if you put the same old slop around him? It's not fair. This 2021 season should be about nothing else than finding out if Jalen Hurts is the guy. If he's not, because if you're not trying to find that out, what the hell did you take him in the second round last year for and create this damn quarterback factory and quarterback drama and trade the guy you invested all that stock into last year? It is about finding out if Jalen Hurts can be the franchise quarterback of the future. How do you do that? Oh, you draft the Heisman Trophy winner. Or you draft his teammate that some say was the best wide receiver of the core last year at Alabama. That's how you do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be mad if they take Patrick Surtain. And Patrick Surtain across from Darius Slay, who I love Darius Slay. I know you're not the biggest fan of him, but I think that's a great duo. Avonte Maddox can slide back to the slot where he belongs, and we see it that works, right? And no doubt about it, Patrick Surtain helps the Eagles. Does he directly impact number 1? No. And I need a direct impact player who can impact Jalen Hurts' production this year and see how it goes from there. I cannot come into this year with Jalen Reagor as wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I completely agree. But the one thing I'll say is when I look at the draft, and this is obviously me, like the draft is more important for me than any other sporting event of the
Right.
year. Like the draft is my favorite event. It's my baby. My big board is like something I painstakingly spend time on trying to figure out the right spots for everybody. If I had defensive player ranked above Devonta Smith, I would say, my number one need is receiver. And I know Shane and Dives and others disagree with that. They think it's corner, and that's fine. I think we have a lot of needs. But I think receiver's number one. So let's take need out of it. I'm fine saying we're in a rebuild. We need the best possible players available to infuse this team with young talent. When you're drafting a guy in the first round, you get 5 years. That you don't get that with the rest of the draft. You get 4 years. You get the 5th-year option with the first-round guys, and that keeps them cost-controlled for an extra year. And that's huge. So let's look at you want to take the best players. So I look at my big board. Number 2, 3, 4, and 5 are pass catchers. That's not an Eagles big board. I didn't make my big board with the idea of, if I'm the Eagles, this is my ranking. I made the big board based on grading all the players and ranking them in orders of those grades. 2 through 5 is pass catchers, which is why it was frustrating to me to trade down from 6 to 12 way before we have any idea of what is going to be there at 6 and what is going to be there at 12. Obviously, so my take on the trade is just that it has such a wide range of being an amazing trade. If one of these guys falls to 12 and we pick up that extra first and we got all that capital, it could be one of the best trades of our recent time as an Eagles fan. Or if the situation I pitched today in the Eagles Discord that we have, where the top 3 quarterbacks go 1 through 3, Pitts goes 4, Chase goes 5, Smith goes 6, Waddle goes 7, I don't know who goes 8. Penei Sewell goes 8.
Surtain goes to the Cowboys.
Surtain goes 10. Let's say Denver takes a QB. Let's say the Giants take J.C. Horn. That's everything I just laid out there is perfectly possible. Everything I just laid out, all the picks I gave to each team, if you go to their odds on BetRivers or wherever, those are top 4 players in terms of likelihood and betting odds to get drafted to those teams. Those are very likely scenarios. And there's a scenario where we're sitting there at 12 looking at Rashawn Slater, Christian Darrisaw, Elijah Vera-Tucker, maybe Justin Fields. Maybe you're looking at the next best receivers after the top 3. You're looking at the next best corner, maybe Caleb Farley, or you're looking at edge rushers. And that's the choice you made moving back from 6 to 12. I know everyone loves trading back. I'm a draft nerd. The people of my draft nerd community always love trading back, and I get it if it makes sense. And if you get the guy you want at 12, that's fine. And if Eagles fans want to tell me, they don't want Devonta Smith, they don't want Jalen Waddle, that's why trading back to 12 is such a great idea.
Well, why the hell don't they want Jalen Smith?
Exactly.
Or Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith?
Exactly. That's my point. So
who cares if the Eagles don't want him? We know that the Eagles deserve no credit. If they whoever they you get my drift here. This is the message I want to portray to everybody, and you've said this to me at times as well. Whoever you go into the draft liking, now we're all going to have different opinions, right? If the Eagles go different position, a player you had ranked below players that were available, don't talk yourself into that pick this year. The
Absolutely.
Eagles and Howie Roseman have gained should have no trust from you into who they pick. And I'm sorry. And look, and there was one point that you made earlier that I want to get to, and Shane and Dives are great minds. So I get what they're saying, but I don't know how you can look at this Eagles roster and tell me with a straight face that cornerback is a bigger need than wide receiver. Do you have cornerback 1? Now, some people aren't a big fan of him. You do, because you traded for him last year. Do you have wide receiver 1? Hell no, you don't have wide receiver 1. You don't have anyone that could sniff wide receiver 1.
You don't have wide receiver 2.
No.
No.
You have a bunch of slot guys and Travis Fulgham. That's what you have, okay? So I'm sorry. Look, I just don't know how you could say that corner is a bigger need than wide receiver when you look at the current roster. And I saw Dives comment earlier, Terrace Marshall out of LSU. I love Marshall. I would like that as well. And I'm not. Here's what I want to pose right now, and this gets to another topic as well. I don't. Okay, but look, I get this, but Devontae Smith would be here. Jalen Waddle would be here for 5 years plus. So yeah, okay. Even if they're not looking at 2021, they're still here 2, 3, 4 years down the line. My point is the biggest focus of 2021, whether you're a dumpster fire or if they play better than I think they're going to, well, you have to find out you have to evaluate Jalen Hurts, and you can't do that with the slop around him. I'm sorry.
So I agree, but the one thing I do want to say, just because you said something like, I get it, Patrick Surtain's good, and you're not going to be upset that they draft Surtain, and you even said J.C. Horn, who I don't feel that same way about. J.C. Horn is absolutely not in this tier of players for me, but Patrick Surtain absolutely is, and I will be almost as happy if we get Patrick Surtain as we will if we get Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle. And I'm a huge Jalen Hurts guy who wants Jalen Hurts to have all the opportunities to succeed this year. But because of how much of a lockdown corner Patrick Surtain looks like he's going to be right away, you can go and do that because it is fairly deep receiver draft. There should be guys available at 37, and if you can get a Terrace Marshall at 37, and you walk out with Surtain and Terrace Marshall.
Yeah. So let me go off of this real quick. And I know I just said don't talk yourself out of it. When I say I would go wide receiver, I would go Smith, Waddle. If they trade up, whatever they're going to do, that's where I would go, right? If they take Patrick Surtain and then they get Marshall, or even if they don't get Marshall and they get Surtain, I'm not going to be mad. That's a pick that I fall back on. Okay. Like I said, him and Slay could be great. Whatever they do outside of that, okay. I'm just telling you my preference would be wide receiver. However,
me too.
However, those are the only two positions I will allow at pick number 12. And I mean that to you, dude. And actually, I don't know how you feel about this. I would throw Parsons in there at 12.
No.
You want it? I would. So if it's him, it's not going to be him, but I'm just saying. If they go, and there was a report today that they love Kwity Paye, defensive line. Mark, I swear to God, if he goes anywhere but wide receiver or corner, and if he goes wide receiver or corner, and it's not one of the four guys that I listed to you earlier, my brain's going to explode. My head is going to explode from anger and pressure. And the report today I saw, they view Kwity Paye as another Brandon Graham, as the next Brandon Graham. Well, that's awesome. And no disrespect to Brandon Graham, he made one of the biggest plays in Eagles history, and I will always love BG. And I think he was extremely underrated. I remember years ago when people wanted him out, right? That's what we're going for with the 12th overall pick is the next Brandon Graham.
Brandon Graham was the wrong pick at the time. Jason Pierre-Paul and Earl Thomas are better.
Remember when we drafted Derek Barnett and he was the next Reggie White?
Yeah.
You remember that? So no, dude, if it is anything outside of Surtain, I'll allow for J.C. Horn. Okay. I know you won't. I will. Waddle, Smith. That's it. That is it for me. Unless they trade up and he pulls something out of his ass and he shocks the world and shocks me.
So, yeah, that report was Sheil Kapadia. He said that Kwity Paye was definitely an option for an Eagles move back. That might have even been his prediction. I didn't read the article. But and then Elliott Shore-Parks, everyone's favorite. He said that Gregory Rousseau is absolutely in play for the Eagles. A couple picks back. If you've been following Party on Broad, I am very, very high on Gregory Rousseau. I'm probably higher on Gregory Rousseau than not that I'm a part of the draft industry or whatever. I'm a draft expert. If you want to take every draft expert that you consider an expert, I'm higher on Rousseau than any of them. I think the guy has a Jason Pierre-Paul upside. I think he's a clone of Jason Pierre-Paul. So he's a guy you say like you'd be fine with J.C. Horn, you'd be fine with Micah Parsons because of their positions and their positions of need. For me, we're at the beginning of a rebuild, so I just want guys with really high upsides. So like you said, I want Smith, Waddle, Surtain, and then if we're saying like those guys are gone, whatever it is, I am also interested in Gregory Rousseau and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, linebacker out of Notre Dame. He's a different player than Micah Parsons, but very similar. Some people have Parsons higher, but they seemingly go very close in mock drafts. They're both linebackers, but those would be the two guys I would accept. I have them above Parsons, who I have at 15 overall, and Horn, who I have at 17 overall. But how do you feel about maybe taking an offensive lineman at 12?
Is it Penei Sewell?
No, it's Rashawn Slater or Christian Darrisaw.
Then no.
Yeah, I get that. I do think there's a chance Rashawn Slater is just, someone they view as a plug-and-play guy for a long time. And if they make that pick, I'm not going to kill them for it at all. And I think Dodds actually loves Slater, but it won't be exciting for sure. But with the chance
it's not even about being exciting, because if it's Penei Sewell, like that's not the sexy lineman's not the sexy pick.
Yeah.
But I would be very happy if Penei Sewell fell to 12. I just think outside of that, he's the only offensive lineman I would be okay with them taking in. This is just something I wanted to bounce off of you, and it's just funny. So Dives up here, hold on. Dylan, the Eagles aren't looking at 2021. They are clearly looking down the road. Now, we know that they should be looking down the road. I question if the people in charge are actually thinking down the road. The smart thing is to be thinking past 2021, and 2021 is going to be a wash. I have no idea what's going on in the noggins of the guys in charge at the NovaCare complex. Hell, how many times in recent memory have they jammed 3 out of the last 4 years we've made the playoffs down our throats, right? So how do you know?
I think it's fair, but whatever.
No,
yeah,
it is. But like, you don't come out and just continuously say that when you win 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
So they should be looking past that, but I don't know if they are.
I think they are. I think that trade back is evidence that they did. I think the trade involving Wentz having the pick speed for next year and not for this year, I think that also says something about that. So I do think that they are looking down the road, which is why I put a lot of stock in that Elias Short Parks Gregory Rousseau rumor, because there is not much more of a down the road player than Gregory Rousseau. That guy's a project, and even someone who loves him, the dude played 1 year in college and started playing football his junior year of high school. He's Jason Pierre-Paul. He's exactly the same type of prospect that the Giants picked up, and he was a developmental project when they got him, and it worked out really well. So that pick can be, you look back at that draft, Jason Pierre-Paul's the top 5 pick in that draft, but he went in the teens because of that raw frame, the not that much tape, 1 year of elite production, and it ended up being a fantastic pick. So Rousseau could be the same way, but if they do that, that's like a full, that's like a Sixers process pick. That's like taking Dario Saric at 14 when they did. That is like a full-on, we are willing to maybe have him not be a productive player this year, but we think he could be someone who's a top 5 player at a position going forward due to his raw physical traits. So that's why I did put value in that. Kwity Paye, I just don't think makes any sense in terms of where they're at. He's a player who I think is ready right away, but he's a player who's got really limited upside. I don't think he's got that much sack production. I know he's good against the run, but Kwity Paye I have 25th overall. That would be someone who I would, if they take Kwity Paye, that's pretty much the absolute singular worst case scenario I can think up in my head. I can't think of a worse scenario than Paye.
I just want to be happy and be proud to be an Eagles fan again. I want to be happy as an Eagles fan. Step one of that, and I laid this out months ago. Dibes can attest to this. Step one of winning my trust back is by nailing the first pick. Now, obviously, even if it's someone that I want, doesn't mean they nail it. Like Jalen Waddle cannot pan out. J.C. Horn cannot pan out. You know what I mean? But in my mind, in a lot of experts' mind, those are the guys, right? So don't be the smartest person in the room, okay? So last year, let's think about this. We don't trade up to get CeeDee Lamb. We're sitting there, Justin Jefferson's on the board. You're clearly thinking that's who it is, right? They take Jalen Reagor. I don't know how you felt. It ruined my night.
I had Jalen Reagor, wide receiver 12 last year.
Ruined my night, 12. Right? Then they come out on day 2 and they drafted another quarterback.
I was actually fine with that at the time.
And it just soured. I can't remember the last time I had a good draft night or a good draft feeling as an Eagles fan. And last year I did it. I talked myself into every pick. I thought it could work. I'm not doing it. And I'm sorry, dude. I see people on Twitter. I see people on Twitter that are actually like trying to talk them like, oh, I can't wait to see Quez Watkins in Nick Sirianni's system. Are you joking, dude? Is this a joke? Seriously.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, be better. This is why they can get away with it, because it's a football town and everyone's still going to buy it. They're going to sell out and everyone's still going to back them, and they deserve nothing for that. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay. My last thing for you is just when you hear about how it's being run, like from the inside and the reports that come out, and the analytics guy, and it's like Lori's son or something like that is the head analytics guy or whatever, and Howie, and they're in charge of the draft. And there's been previous scouts that have come out of the organization and say like, no, well, me and this person, like the football people, the football minds are giving this, and this. And then they're going their analytics route, right? Please, for the love of God, let the football guys make the selections. Stop it. Stop being the smartest person in the room. It has not worked for you. It has literally never worked for you. So please, to win my trust back, as literally what you're on my damn arm. I can't get rid of you. I literally can't get rid of you. Please do the right thing at 12.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize to people, because I do think, and this is Dive's fault, he's watching. I think people have started to put J.C. Horn in that tier with Patrick Surtain, with Jalen Waddle, with Devonta Smith. I don't think he's there at all. I just want to say that from my own opinion. I have Smith 3 overall. I have Waddle 4 overall. I have Surtain 6 overall. And I have Horn 17. So there is a sizable gap for those guys for me. If the Eagles walk out of this draft with Devonta Smith, with Patrick Surtain, with Jalen Waddle, one of those guys, and it's funny because they're all from Alabama, if they walk out with one of those 3 Alabama guys, I will be the happiest guy in the world. I will be telling everyone how good of a job Howie did in the first round, trading back to get one of those guys. If all of those guys are off the board, if Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Patrick Surtain, and obviously the assumed, Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell, if all of those are off the board, that was an atrocious trade that the people who excused it at the time should really, really look back and see if they agree with that decision still. Because I don't think it's going to be talked about because it happened so long ago, so it won't be like, oh, we traded back and missed that.
I'm telling you right now, I'm hating the trade until that happens.
Exactly.
Until what you just said happens. And I'll tell you, I have more to it as well. It's not just that you traded back and you missed out on those guys. It's probably where some of the guys are going to go, because 2 of your division rivals pick ahead of you, and Patrick Surtain, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith could be playing against you for the next 5 years and tearing you apart. Okay, just we saw CeeDee Lamb do last year. Okay, that's the one thing. The second thing is Dives made a comment up above about how they're stockpiling picks for the early first round next year. Well, let's think about that, right? One of them's the Colts. Hopefully, it's not even locked in yet. It's hopefully the Colts. Colts were a pretty damn good team last year, Mark, right?
Yeah.
So unless Carson Wentz goes there and completely just tears that franchise apart, that pick's probably going to be in the 20s, right?
And if that happens, there's limitations on if he has to start a certain amount of games.
And you might not even get the pick.
The Colts pick is going to be a 20s pick or a second rounder.
Right.
100%.
And the Dolphins could be a above 16 pick. Am I wrong for thinking that? Above 15, not like under 15, like up like 17, 18, 19 in that range, right?
Dolphins had the 18th pick and we're playing for a chance to go to the playoffs in week 17 this year.
Okay.
And that was with Tua Tagovailoa being treated like a 16-year-old kid playing quarterback. They wouldn't even let him throw the ball down the field. Miami will be better than they were last year this year.
So if you don't get any of those guys we're talking about on today's show, they go to your division rivals, and the draft picks that you accumulated in the trade back next year are in the 20s. Not that a top 25 pick is it going to like, I'm not saying that the pick doesn't matter. I'm just saying when you traded back out of a Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase or whatever, you don't get anybody in this year's draft that you want that we wanted, right? And then next year, those first rounders aren't going to be like a top pick that you're going to be like, oh man, like the Eagles got this pick. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Then
and
yeah,
also,
the trade back wasn't a success.
Also, it sounds like I hate this guy. I have him 17th overall, but just to emphasize J.C. Horn, if we're saying that J.C. Horn's a pick looking forward to the future, I don't understand that at all, because I do not think that guy has shut down number one corner upside. Number one corner, that could be strong. He could be a top 32 corner in the NFL, but I don't think he's going to be an exceptional number one shutdown cornerback. I think his upside is very good. I don't think he's got excellent, great lockdown upside like Patrick Surtain has, and honestly, like Caleb Farley has. Caleb Farley's got a ton of injury issues. The rumors that came out today did not look great, but those guys are just more impressive and have more elite upside than J.C. Horn has. So if we're saying like, oh, we can't take a receiver because we're looking towards the future, I think all of those receivers have way higher upsides and way higher potential to help the team in 2022 more than J.C. Horn will help the team going forward. But someone said in the comments here, the funny thing about Asante Samuel is it's like player comps are something that I hate generally, but he is Asante Samuel Jr. Like, he is exactly what you think Asante Samuel's son would be at football. He's a ball hawk. He's undersized. He's a kind of cocky, arrogant guy, and he can't tackle. Like, there's tackling concerns. He's a stud. Like, he goes and gets the ball. He attacks the ball. He wants to be around the ball at all times. Forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, interceptions mainly, passes broken up. I have him, I believe, 35 overall. He'd be someone I would love to take at 37, and I think he could turn out just as good as J.C. Horn.
So, real quick to wrap up today's show, Mark, we're having you back on tomorrow or Thursday. Let's figure this out, because draft is still 2 days away, so we have more content to bring to you guys, and we'll think of fun ways to do. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow, or we'll save it for Thursday. We'll do a live final mock we can do together or whatever here on the Daily Dose. But my last thing that I want to say to you and all the viewers are, you guys know how I've been so down on the Eagles, right? And that'll change once it gets closer to August and training camp and all that stuff. You want to know how sick in the head I am as an Eagles fan? I'm already thinking about, and I know it's just one guy, right? But I'm just thinking about Sirianni's offense. If he is this offensive guy, this offensive mind, right, and get the ball in guys' hands and in space and let them work. I know it's a crazy idea, right? But just think of one of Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. Now, that can allow Reagor to go to the slot. Maybe they give Fulgham an extra chance and there was something there. Jalen Hurts with that speed at quarterbacks, Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert. Now you have some things to be excited about on the offensive side of the ball, at least. Or, if they get Surtain and you have two hopefully lockdown corners, maybe they get Terrace Marshall in the second round or whatever happens there. And then, there's ways to make me happy on draft night. Please don't let me down. And please let me just get excited for that idea that I just threw out there about his offense, which maybe over the course of this week we will get into the head coach, because I'm just not having it right now. And I know that's probably harsh of me, but we can, the last few minutes, let's do this. Mark, help me out, man. I've talked a lot of people off the ledge when it comes to the Sixers and even the Eagles in the past. Help me out with this guy, man. I know we want high energy, and Doug was a stiff and Andy was a stiff, and we should like it. And I know a lot of people do like it. And a lot of people on Twitter, you're lame if you hate on Sirianni because he's high energy. It's not that he's high energy. I like the energy. It's some of the shit that comes out of his mouth.
Sounds like an idiot.
The rock, paper, scissors, dude. Or you just became a punchline. Or his introductory speech, or whenever the speech was, when he was talking about his brother, when he got so excited, people were like, "Oh man, you're hating on him because he was excited to be proud of his brother." I'm not hating on him for that. I'm hating on him because we're talking about systems in the NFL, and he's talking about his brother coaching a high school team. The two don't go together, man. It's not that I hate his energy. I want the energy. I want him to be a good head coach and to bring a different look to this offense that we haven't seen in quite some time, right? I want that. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I want to be dead. Be honest with me, Mark. If that's true, what the hell do you think, like, let's say he's on Zoom with Jalen Waddle and he asked Jalen Waddle to play rock, paper, scissors, shoot. What do you think is going through Jalen Waddle's head? I'm being dead serious. What would you do if you were a prospect in the draft and you're on Zoom calls with head coaches and scouts and whoever, and they dead seriously, like, or however it went, I don't know how it went, obviously, ask you to play rock, paper, scissors. And then I really hope he was joking when he said that he did it to test their competitiveness. Now, I'm a competitive guy, so I want to see if they're competitive and if they, I didn't win, or blah, blah, and we're talking trash to each other. Dude, it's rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I don't know if you feel the same as me here. I don't know if the viewers feel the same as me here or different, whatever. I want to like him. He's making it very difficult so far for me.
Yeah, I mean, I thought firing Doug Peterson is one of the most disrespectful decisions that a Philadelphia organization's ever made. We win one Super Bowl in the history of our franchise, and 3 years later he's fired, and it's the second time in NFL history that that's happened. I think it's absolutely beyond repair, this organization and the dysfunction, and the fact that Howie Roseman kept his job and Doug Peterson didn't. When the fact that even if you look at that Super Bowl team, a lot of it is because of the fact that we brought in guys who were misfit toy type guys, and they worked here. And I would say that has a lot more to do with coaching than it does with picking the players. But what it does have to do with picking the players is the draft. And you take a look at Howie Roseman's history in the draft, and it's terrible. And he's the guy that not only fired Doug Peterson, but he's the guy who hired Nick Sirianni. I hated the hire months ago.
Wait.
This
was the comment that really stuck out to me that you just reminded me when you brought up the draft. Is when he was talking about prospects, and he was talking about when he was in Indianapolis and he had his board and he was super excited about this guy, and then it came to our pick and none of them were there because the Eagles took them. Who the hell have you wanted that? You didn't see that?
No, I didn't see that.
I think that was either in his introductory press conference or in the second one. Dude, go find it, dude. I promise you. He was excited about prospects in the draft, and when it came to their pick, the Eagles had taken him. Who the hell did you want that the Eagles took?
Yeah. Miles Sanders is what he would say, probably.
So do you guys understand my frustration with the new head coach? And I know some people, you're just being hated. No, I'm not.
Yeah. For me, it'd be different if he had a background before hiring here. He got hired because he was Frank Reich's errand boy. And he got hired here because they were familiar with him and he was something that Howie could easily control. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that they interviewed how many people? They interviewed 800 people to be their head coach. And about all of them had more qualifications than Nick Sirianni did. And about all of them had more play calling experience. And about all of them had worked with more successful quarterbacks. About all of them had been coaching under more successful coaches. About every aspect you could look at and what makes a successful head coaching hire, Nick Sirianni bucks every one of those trends. I'm just saying, I think it's more than likely that he is fired in the next 3 years than it is that he's here 6 years from now.
And like I said, man, look, we like to be right. We like to be wrong.
I like to be right. To be right.
So do I. But we like to be wrong when it comes with winning. You know what I mean? Like when we pick against the Sixers, when we pick against the Phillies, it's like, hey, man, I want to be wrong. It proved me wrong. Nick Sirianni, prove me wrong. Jalen Hurts, Howie Roseman, prove me wrong. I'm just not there yet. I'm sorry.
Yeah, none of that. I mean,
it's like a toxic relationship.
Yeah, I mean, none of the things I just mattered his accolades and him not. By the way, the best quarterback he ever worked with is Phil Rivers. So it's you're looking at the McDaniels of the world who actually have worked with good quarterbacks and the Greg Romans and plenty of guys. And we all those things don't matter. All those accolades, all those things in the past, Nick Sirianni being underqualified don't matter. If he comes in and he has a creative offense and if he comes in like Kevin Stefanski came into Cleveland. Or if he comes in with creative play designs, or if he comes in and really the guys start playing for him, I don't care if he sounds like a fucking idiot. I didn't care when Doug sounded like an idiot, because he did plenty of times. And
Sure.
I don't care about that kind of stuff as long as he's coaching the team well, calling plays well, and the team respects him. That's all that really matters. I have doubts on all three of those things.
Yep.
So when I have those doubts, and then when he's playing rock, paper, scissors with people, it's easy to be like, what the hell? What the hell is going on? What kind of organization are we running here? 3 years ago, we won a Super Bowl. And I understand the frustration. I think you're a lot more frustrated with the Eagles than I tend to be. And that's fine. My dad's the same way. I have to talk him off the ledge all the time. And I think that's just because for me that the Super Bowl came so out of nowhere that it kind of is like, all right, I'm kind of fine for a while. I'll focus on the Sixers. When the Sixers win a title, when, not if, I'll be more focused on the Eagles winning the title again or whatever that is. But the fact that they squandered it so fast is definitely a sign of how horrible the management is. And how could you trust any, just like you said about the draft process, and I've been telling this to my friends for years. I didn't like Miles Sanders, which I kind of look wrong. Whatever. I don't think he's excellent or anything. But Jalen Reagor, I hated. Like J-Jaw, I hated. I wasn't a big fan of the Andre Dillard pick. So all these picks I killed, and it's like all my friends are going, oh man, you don't know. Like anything can happen. You don't know what these players are. And it's like, yeah, neither does Howie. So I'm gonna trust my evaluation and my
no offense. That just speaks volumes to your thought, because that's a first round pick. People's counter argument shouldn't be like, oh, you don't know, he could turn out good. That means it's not a good pick on draft night. Now, could it turn? Sure, you don't know. It could turn out to work. Okay. But that just speaks volume. First round draft pick, number 12 overall. We should not be leaving Thursday night saying, oh, you don't know, it could work out. He could be right. No. N-O.
Yeah, and
because
I feel the same way.
If you make the Waddle or Surtain or Smith pick, and somehow they don't work out, well, then you're not on the hook, Howie, because everyone in the damn city and experts thought it was the right pick.
Yeah.
But when you try to be the smartest person in the room, and you draft Jalen Reagor ahead of Justin Jefferson, and Justin Jefferson goes on to make a Pro Bowl in his rookie year, and Jalen Reagor caught under 400 yards or whatever, well, that's how you become to look like an idiot.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. I mean, it's the same exact thing. My point of the whole bringing it back to that draft prospect point, it's the same thing with hiring the coach. The same guy that's drafting those players and the same guy that's failed pretty miserably.
Yeah, so why should we trust
hiring the coach? Exactly. And why should I, overlook Nick Sirianni's idiocy? And why should I just be like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine, when I have nothing to base that opinion in? I have nothing to base the opinion in that Nick Sirianni will be even average as a head coach. That you talk about the smartest guy in the room making a draft pick outside of Smith, Waddle, Surtain. Hiring Nick Sirianni was, oh, I'm Howie Roseman. I'm
bringing in the next. He's got this idea that Jalen Hurts is the next Russell Wilson. Nick Sirianni is the next, that offensive guru, that Sean McVay, that younger coach that's going to come in and transform the offense in the NFL and blah, blah, blah. Look, I hope so, man. But I haven't been that fired up about the Eagles. And that's the sad thing is it's been in a negative light for the last couple months. And I hate it. I don't want to be that. But guys, I didn't get that way myself. I didn't just wake up one morning and decide I'm going to hate on the Eagles when I go on my show. I want to be happy, cheery, thinking the Eagles can compete for a Super Bowl. Going into last year, I talked myself into everything. Thought the Eagles could compete. And Howie Roseman still has a job. So, with that being said, that's going to wrap up today's show of the Daily Dose with Dylan Davis. You can follow me on Twitter at DylanJD98 and give my man Mark a follow at MarkHenryJr_. Mark will be back maybe for the next 2 days with us. Gint should be back tomorrow as well. And we'll do we'll come up with some creative things for the viewers, Mark, when it comes to the draft, because we can only talk about pick number 12 so much and have all these, thoughts and blah, blah, blah. But
yeah,
we'll come up with some creative stuff.
Yeah, just a quick plug. I'm not doing a tough cover pod today. Like I said earlier,
you're slacking.
I know. Like I said earlier, I like the Phillies money line, 1 unit, but I have I believe 2.5 units on the Boston Red Sox. Team total over 3.5 runs. That's my bet of the day. Boston Red Sox over 3.5 runs. Muck the Fets. Red Sox and Mets are on ESPN at 7:00. So hopefully the Red Sox get a win. hopefully they score over 3.5 runs. And also, please go check out my YouTube video from the other night with Dives. The Painted Lines just tweeted it out as my breakdown of my personal big board, my top 50. And we'll be using that on the draft show on Thursday night for the live stream for the first round, which I am very excited about.
Absolutely, man. So yeah, that's going to do it. Go Phillies. They take on the St. Louis Cardinals tonight at 7:45. We'll be back tomorrow to break down that game, to preview a little bit of the Sixers matchup tomorrow and more draft talk as usual. And go Raptors. Can't believe I'm saying that, but go Raptors tonight. And have a nice night, everyone.